cold front kind of swept across. Now it's stalling, and this is all going to interact with moisture coming from Helene, and that's what we're ultimately going to be watching as we head over the course of the next couple of days. So I'm going to join on Facebook Live with you. Feel free, if you have any questions, to drop those in and talk. We can talk this out a little bit. Of course, we do have WVLT News coming up at noon today, but I want to go ahead and kind of dive in a little bit deeper on some things that are going on. So I see some people slowly beginning to join in. We'll give it just a few moments, but a lot of light to moderate rainfall kind of coming down across East Tennessee this afternoon already, and this is just kind of, once again, advising at least a little bit of that ground moisture kind of beginning to cause a little bit of flooding for some areas, and we're keeping a close watch on in case any roads are eventually closed moving forward in time. And we'll of course update you not only in the WVLT First Alert weather app, great tool to have, especially in case any watches, warnings, or things like that are issued for our area, but also make sure to have the WVLT News app. That way, if we do have road closures, school closures, things like that, you can look it up right on your phone and pop it right on up. So that's what we're looking at the moment. So without further ado, I see some people joining. Let's go ahead and dive into what we are dealing with. So still a WVLT First Alert Weather Day today through our Friday. So what we're tracking today, showers and downpours. That's what we're looking at. And then eventually as we head towards tonight and into Friday, that's when we're tracking those tropical downpours as well as some gusty winds, and that could cause some power outages as well, especially with the saturated ground that we have in place. So caution, messy commutes as well as some of those mudslides and things like that are definitely going to be in the realm of possibility as we move forward in time. So keep that in mind, of course, if you are watching that very closely. So I see Faye says, is the rain going to slow down around noon? Faye, I'll show you the big picture here, and hopefully this kind of helps you out just a little bit on what we're looking at. And short answer is, Faye, unfortunately, probably not. As you can see, this is just a deep slug of tropical moisture. Unfortunately, our friends and neighbors, if you have family that are over in the North Carolina mountains, have been getting hit really hard over the last 24 hours, not only with severe weather, with a couple of tornadoes potentially there across the North Carolina mountains up towards Boone, Blowing Rock. Not usually accustomed to seeing that, but also very heavy rainfall. I've seen reports coming out of UNC Asheville, the college, of some flooded creeks and roadways, so that is very dangerous if you're traveling that way, but that is something to keep in mind, of course, for you. So this is the wide band of things. This is still all associated with the tropical system that's off towards our south, but let's go ahead and dive in a little closer, shall we, and show you what's actually happening. So far today, most of the rainfall has been along and east of I-75. It's beginning to shift a little bit farther to the west now, so we're basically all beginning to get in on that rainfall. And I know it doesn't look like a lot, especially on the North Carolina side, but I promise you it's because of just how fine this resolution and this data is at the moment. So what that means is we are keeping a close watch on these showers and downpours that are going to be moving through as we head into the afternoon. Thomas says, is the new track that just came out, has it shifted more west, and is that going to cause less impacts for East Tennessee? Thomas, I'll get to that question here in just a moment, I promise. That's a great question. And that is something that meteorologist Kyle Granger and I have been talking about pretty much all morning, as well as meteorologist Spencer Denton. We've been kind of analyzing very closely where the center is currently and where it's going to move. So I'll answer that here in just a moment. But right now we do have some light rain in and around Williamsburg to Barberville, back over to Middlesboro and La Follette to Maynardville, Harlan to Sneedville to Rogersville, seeing some of that heavier rainfall. You can see that flash flood warning that's popping up. That is not for our East Tennessee counties at the moment. It is up towards the Tri-Cities. So if you have friends, family up this is for Carter, Johnson, Unicoi, as well as Washington counties until 12 o'clock today. So that's coming up in about 30 minutes. We'll see if that gets extended or not. But no official flash flood warnings here in East Tennessee. We do have flood warnings out, and what that means is for the creeks and the rivers, they're beginning to rise, and that is what we're going to be looking at very closely coming up in just a few moments. We actually do have a camera, or mountain monster camera there in Pigeon Forge. We'll take that full for you and show you what is going on there. But what that is going to show is that the river there in Pigeon Forge is beginning to rise. You can see it's not out of its banks, but you can see flowing pretty good right behind that sign there. This, once again, on our mountain monster cameras. You can get the latest look on that on the WVLT website. So if you log into there, you can kind of check out and see what's going on across East Tennessee if you don't live here in Knoxville. But that's kind of the latest look right there of the river. We are beginning to see some roads beginning to be closed across Sevier County as well. So we're going to keep you updated in the First Alert Weather app as well as in the News app as things begin to change there for you as well. So let's go back to that flood watch. We're now seeing that through Friday afternoon. basically expended for all of East Tennessee because the threat is continuing to rise a little bit. Remember, if you joined with us yesterday, something that was different, giving that first alert now that's changed. Jamestown, Crossville, as well as Monticello points west are now all under that flood watch. So even back into Middle Tennessee, beginning to see that as well. Let's see. When is the rain going to stop? Have a blessed day. Thank you, Chris. I hope you have a wonderful day as well and a blessed one. Unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with this rainfall really probably for the next 24 to 48 hours and even some spotty showers into the weekend. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, Thomas, I know you asked about this question about the track itself and what has changed. So we just got a new update. This is the 11 o'clock advisory. Still a Category 2 storm, winds of 105 miles per hour. But look how expansive it is, all the way from the north. Doesn't even kind of come on that tropical tracker for you, all the way to the south as well. That is the area that we're watching for potent weather, in fact, and they still have it moving north-northeast at 14 miles per hour. Now, if you listen to us, we always tell you the messy side of the storm is actually the east side, so you don't want to be on the east side. The west side is usually the better, and look at kind of that sharp cutoff. Still some showers and storms west of the center of circulation, but by far the most pronounced and most dangerous weather right now, north side of the storm and the east side. So that's what we want to keep in mind. Sierra, I see you asked a question. I'm sorry. I'm just getting all these information. I'm reading off this phone. So, Sierra, you asked how about the wind's going to get in Sevierville. We'll take a look at that here in a moment. But right now, Sevierville is under that high wind watch, of course, for you. I'm getting new updates as well on additional flood warnings for Blount and Monroe counties. So those are for areas along that are dealing with those creeks and those rivers. So it's not a flash flood warning. It's just a flood warning in general. So here's the latest track. So look at where it kind of goes. This is Friday morning, 8 o'clock. It's making landfall tonight, folks. So in about 12 hours, it's going to go from the coast of Florida. It's going to race to the north by, say, 8 o'clock tomorrow. It could be in and around the Atlanta region. Now, I don't want you to focus on exactly where the center is, because these impacts are going to be felt well away, hundreds of miles away. Look over towards North Carolina. The center of circulation is in Atlanta, but the rainfall is still all the way back into Raleigh and areas like that. So that is something that we're going to keep a close watch on for you, and it's going to kind of meander off towards the north and the west for a while and actually kind of loop back around, and that's why we are going to expect at least off and on showers and downpours through early next week. But it'll be coming a little bit better. So your commute for tonight, want to give you a first alert for that as well, that we will be tracking some heavy downpours, could cause ponding on the roadways. We've already seen some wrecks this morning for that morning commute. If we can take a look at some of those TDOT cameras that we have, nothing major at the moment, but just want to show you what the road conditions are looking like at this moment. As it is very wet out there, you can see water on the roadways. Take it slow. I promise you, though, if you just take it slow, that you're going to be okay. We'll all get to the same destination, wherever you want to go, as we head forward in time, but just keep that in mind. So with that being said, what can we expect through the rest of this afternoon? Well, model's doing a pretty good job of showing you already that we are dealing with some of these showers and downpours that are moving in 1, 2 o'clock. Still some of that light to moderate rainfall basically along and east of I-75. Then as we head closer to 3, notice it kind of jogging a little bit farther west. That's along the plateau where you haven't seen a whole lot of rainfall just yet. Don't worry, you're going to get your rainfall coming too. This is all some good news and bad news, because the good news is we're getting rainfall to help out with the drought situation. So far, it's behaving okay to the point where it's not coming down in buckets. But I do expect the intensity and the overall coverage to increase as we head into tonight, and that's when we could be actually dealing with some issues. So if all possible, if you have any outdoor plans or places to travel, get it done earlier tonight rather than later. The later you go, the worse the road conditions could potentially be, especially across the foothills and the mountains. That's where we're dealing with a high risk of potential flooding. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, you'll notice we actually kind of get some dry slots in there, meaning breaks in the rainfall. That's actually because of the wind direction coming out of the east. Then that's a whole nother ball game that we're going to have to watch very closely. I'm going to read a couple of questions. So how high the wind's getting in Newport? Michelle, I'll answer that here in just a moment. We're going to get into the wind advisories and the watches for you. Let's see. Tracy, people need to be more educated on flash flooding. Anyone along water/flood zones need to take extra precaution. That's a good point. Flash flooding is different than flooding from like a river. So flash flooding happens almost instantly, kind of comes out of the blue. Whereas flood warnings, like Tracy's talking about, in those prone areas, rises with time as the water levels increase. So that's a good point there. Let's see. Margaret says, live in North Carolina mountains. Creek not flooding. Water coming down off Eagles Nest Mountain. Yards already flooded. Town came out. They had put sandbags in it fixed years ago. Yeah, so Margaret, a lot of people getting hit pretty hard over on the North Carolina side. Paula says, how about Seymour? And I see a lot of other questions in Pigeon Forge and that as well. So here's a look at the rainfall through today. This is just through 11 o'clock tonight. An additional 1 to 2 inches of rain already on top. You can see those brighter colors over on the North Carolina side of things. That is where we're dealing with maybe say 2 to 4 plus inches of rain, and that's only going to add up over time. Here's the latest on the high wind watch as well as the high wind warning. So in that light brown shading, that is a high wind watch, indicating that winds tomorrow 20 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 50 at times. Then that darker orange, you can see that kind of mixing in with that light brown or 10 color, that's mountain winds. That's of 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusting 70 to 80 at times. So this storm is going to pack a punch. It's coming in quick. It's going to come out and get out in a hurry as well. But we're going to have about a 12-hour stretch. Things could get a little dicey out there for us as well. So with that being said, let's track out these winds for you as we go through the rest of today and into our Friday. So the winds kind of pick up later on this afternoon, this evening by, say, 7, 8 o'clock tonight. We could see some wind gusts, maybe upwards of 20 miles per hour so at times. Then by early tomorrow morning, that's when we see all that wind really beginning to push up. That's as Helene gets closer to our area. So remember, as we head closer to 8 o'clock, that's when it was near Atlanta. That's when some of our strongest winds are going to be as well. So that's why we need to keep a close watch on that. Speaking of that, here's a look at another model showing you that we could see those winds gusting anywhere between, say, 20 to 30 to 40 miles per hour. At times, I'll back it up and replay that for you to show you that we could be dealing, once again, with those wind speeds, 40, maybe as high as 50 miles per hour through mid-morning. But the change in direction is also going to be something that we want to notice very closely for you. It's going to start out with a more easterly to northeasterly wind, then change more southerly through the afternoon. So that can kind of get those trees rocking back and forth for you. And here's a look at that rainfall that we can expect through the day on Friday as well. I mentioned that we could get a brief break in the rain as we head into tomorrow morning. That's because of the downslope winds still cranking there across the foothills and the mountains and the plateau. That's where it goes back up. That's orographic lift is what we call it. So that's why it's so important that if you have friends and family over in North Carolina, to keep a watch on this in the mountains as well. Plateau, that's when you're going to get your heavy rainfall as those winds are coming out of the east. That's going to lift up over the mountains, and then eventually we could see more of that rain wrapping around for us as we head into the afternoon and evening. Okay, Bradley says, good morning. How long will it be getting all this heavy rain in our area? There's a lot of new springs and rocks and banks from it. Yeah, Bradley, so probably through tomorrow afternoon is kind of when things will begin to wind down in terms of rainfall. Still showers and downpours through, say, 4 or 5 o'clock. But what you can't see are those winds that we just talked about. So showers continue as what is left of Helene, whether it be a tropical depression or a tropical storm at that point, continues to spin, and then it really begins to kind of slow things down over time. How much rainfall are we still looking at? Now, I've kind of timed this from now until all the way through the day on Saturday. So this is through tomorrow morning. There's your an additional 2 inches to 3 inches of rain. Let's add on a little bit more than that. So this is freshly coming in off the press for you as we head through the day on Saturday. So you can see anywhere between 2 to 3 additional inches of rain from what we've already seen. Much higher amounts the farther east you travel into the North Carolina mountains. So that is what we're looking at. Karen asks, what about Saturday? Still some spotty to scattered showers out there. Still some breezy conditions, but not anything like what we're expecting tomorrow. Rayson says it's going to rain Saturday. The potential is there that we could see a few showers and downpours. Not going to be anything widespread per se, but right now between probably 20 and 40% coverage out there for you. So with that being said, we're going to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to go back in and meet up with meteorologist Kyle Granger. We're going to be kind of talking about things that are going to be happening over the course of the next couple hours. You can count on us. Make sure to have the WVLT First Alert Weather app. Promise you it's a great tool to have. It not only tells you when heavy rain's in your area, but also gives you alerts should those watches and warnings be issued. And thank you, David, for popping this back up, because remember when we first came on, folks, we were talking about it was still in its banks. Well, now the river itself in Pigeon Forge is beginning to, unfortunately, kind of flow out of the banks at the moment. So that is the area that we're seeing some flooding concerns. You can see it looks like some tree branches that might have been kind of floated downstream there as well. Let's see. I'm just going to read a couple questions. No problem. Thank you for your comments and on the hard work and stuff. We don't mind it at all. This is what we're paid to do. This is what we've been trained to do, and this is, our passion is to track weather, and we want to keep you safe during it, so that's no problem at all. Tim, Lenore City still looking at probably 2 to 3 inches of rain gusts, maybe upwards of 50 miles per hour. For those that are maybe just joining us, I know we're kind of catching you in between lunch breaks and things like that. You're more than welcome to always go back and watch this. We've probably been on for the last 10 to 15 minutes. But we're going to kind of wrap things up now as we get ready for WVLT News at noon. We'll get a new update from the National Hurricane Center coming in at 2 o'clock. We'll see if the track shifts east or if it kind of stays where it's at. And we'll, of course, let you know if we need to do another Facebook Live. We'll do so this afternoon. Meteorologist Spencer Denton, he'll be in with us as well this afternoon. But we're going to keep a close watch on this. I'll go post something on Facebook. You can actually see some of those tree branches floating downstream there now. So that's going to be something that we're going to watch very closely for you. That is the biggest area that we're concerned about for flooding. Cassie, this is kind of in Sevierville. I know it's more so Pigeon Forge, but we are looking at some flooding concerns coming up, especially if this rain continues. Cindy, good question. Right before I get off, how do we sign up for weather alerts? If you have the WVLT News app, it's a great tool to have. I'll actually pull it up for you, and we'll I know it's going to be a little hard to see, but I'll pop it around for you and show you how you get it. So what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and click the 3 little bars up here in the top corner. If you look at mine, it's going to be kind of focusing in on Knoxville. So if you click it, it's going to type up location, settings, privacy. So click on location. Click it to follow me. That's going to follow your exact location. So no matter where you are, if you're traveling, Sevier County, Cumberland County, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, wherever, you can do that. So then you want to go into the settings and kind of have the WVLT alerts typed on or clicked on. Click on that. There's weather notifications, and you have all these different notifications that you can have that are turned on. Just make sure all those are highlighted. I have over 29 types selected, so you can have those on. And you can see it right at the top of the screen. It's got the high wind watch as well as the flood watch that is going out. So with that being said, hopefully you all have a fantastic day. We'll see you back on WVLT News at noon. If anything changes, we'll be the first to let you know.